Alright guys, seems like we have a little bit of a double whammy today on the NA side of things. I was asking for them to kind of speed things up a little bit because, just getting a Grailfront as the only bit of content in a week is a little bit underwhelming, unless you're going to do it like, say, the Skahawk one that also came with the lottery. So I do like that they're going ahead and dropping not only the Moriarty and Don Quixote banner, and I think it also has Zhang Jue on it as well, but they're also going to be bringing the Grailfront Moonsault operation, which I know Grailfronts aren't everybody's favorite, but just hear me out. It's got main quests. It's got, the tickets from the actual Grailfront. This is going to be good, if you want your extra tickets, and it's basically free Saint Quartz. I mean, like, look at this. This is really, really easy to just grab a couple of extra Saint Quartz, and if you're trying to go for Moriarty like myself, this is going to be an absolute killer to trying to get some extra tickets, to try to get some extra Saint Quartz that might push you over the edge a little bit and going from one multi to maybe two multi. So we're going to talk about that in today's video, like, sub, all that good stuff. But the main thing that I'm super gassed to talk about is the buffs that are coming. Now, obviously, before I get super into all the buffs that we should be getting for the Grailfront over here, yes, they are going to be bringing BB Summer back, which I think is kind of interesting because she did have, I think it was in like February or something, they also gave her another rate up, which I find kind of interesting. I'm never going to complain about that, making the more limited servants, well, less limited. I think that's very, very good. If you just want to chuck multiple banners our way and be like, here, make BB Summer easier to get. Give Oberon an extra banner, stuff like that I think is very helpful to a lot of players. And I would not be surprised if we see the other, Sakura members also making an appearance on this banner, because it never really made sense that I'm like, yeah, okay, I kind of get Janako going on a rate up, but where are all of the other Sakura members? Because they all have buffs that come with this event. So that is the free-to-play BB, Summer BB, Melt, Lip, and Kingprotea, and they're all pretty strong buffs. Let's just start first and foremost off with BB over here. So this skill is already quite good in and of itself. It's basically the Jolter crit skill. Can't go wrong with some decent star weight and some pretty good crit damage, but they decided to cater to what? Me exactly, by not only giving her a 30% arts buff, which is going to not only help out the NP gain of her cards over here, which will be very nice, but also raise the base damage of her NP as she finally has her own self arts buff, which technically is a 40% arts buff. So that's already really good. Effectively having an arts mana burst for 3 turns for free, that's always super nice. But then she just charges the entire party's NP gauge by 10% whenever she uses the extra attack. So whenever you do Brave Chains, especially if it's an NP Brave Chain, you're giving the entire party 30% NP, because she already gives 20% on this, and then an additional 10% over here. She's kind of like a mini version of, say, Rider Da Vinci, because Rider Da Vinci is kind of a bit more free because she gives herself NP every single turn. This is restricted to her own Brave Change, which, I mean, is not the hardest thing to do if you're, managing your cards correctly, and especially if you're going to be using her with the BB Summer over there that can lock your cards in place. But, it is a little bit more restrictive. You do have to find the Brave Chains, but it does make them really nice and just allowing your teams to kind of function like a well-oiled machine. And again, the arts buff I think is absolutely massive for her, giving her just a nice base damage increase while also, helping her out with her NP gain. So that one I think is already very strong. BB Summer over here is getting a similarly kind of made skill buff over here, where instead of getting, say, a card buff, they give her a 30% attack buff, and instead of generating NP, she generates 20 stars whenever attacking with her extra attack. So she will do a Brave Chain, and she'll actually gen, 30 stars for that turn, because she already does 10 over here on her third skill. And I like that they went ahead and gave her a pretty good sizable attack buff, because she already pretty much has all the different buff types. She already gives herself, I guess, an okay Buster buff, right? And then she gives herself a really fat NP damage buff, which does work out pretty well with Oberon, but unfortunately no other Buster buff is going to be located on her kit, but she still does have that arts buff, I suppose. But it is very, very nice. BB Summer now, I know, had the problem, especially at NP1, that her damage could be a bit lacking if you were trying to use her as, say, your main farming unit. This is alleviated a lot, especially if you do have Oberon, because not only is her base damage getting raised significantly, but dude, when you have a 50% NP damage buff, Oberon's third skill really likes being able to interact with that. That's just very good, because what? He's also going to give her an additional 20%, so she's at 70% NP damage. That's a little ridiculous. Like, that's kind of good. That's a bit crazy. Or is his a 30% NP damage? No, it's a 20%, surely. It's not that crazy, right? Surely, I'm not misremembering. It's not 30%. He's not that insane, right? Surely they wouldn't make a unit that crazy. But yeah, both of the BBs are getting really good. I think this one is a pretty big net fat W if you do have BB, because, well, she was a free-to-play for the Seraph event when they dropped that initially, but if you did go ahead and use rare prisms to unlock it, she will just be a very powerful unit in your arsenal, not only as just a single target arts unit that's going to technically be a free NP5. If you start hodling all of your rare prisms, you can technically get her for free, unless you want to wait 2 years and get her for actually free with the evocation leaves. But she'll just be very good in that reign, that she's also a single target, you know, moon cancer. She's the only one that we have, which is really strange, right? It's strange that all the other ones are AoE. She's the only single target one and she was free. I just think it's very strange. You know, maybe we'll get another single target moon cancer this year. But now we have Melt. Melt is just more of a subtle one. They just chucked her a 30% battery. Nothing really insane going on here. I mean, obviously, it's really good. It gives her some, I guess, type of viability in some multi-core team comps, where if you need to use her as, say, a 90++ single target servant to maybe take out a middle wave, that could be helpful. She is an alter ego, so she's able to handle, you know, berserkers, riders, casters, assassins. You know, it's really good for that. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, and I always get this mixed up, but I think it's also super effective on foreigners as well, if I'm remembering my weird extra classings correctly, because again, it is a little later, but I still always get those mixed up. Look, if you're ever like, man, sometimes I just don't have these things down, look, don't worry, sometimes I also get them mixed up, because they're just like, you know, screw it, let's just chuck new classes in here every 2 years and then be like, they'll figure it out. I'm like, nah, I'll just figure it out every time I go into a fight. But again, bottom line, she can be very useful for you, but it's also just good going into CQ content. Having a 30% battery, being able to fire a clutch NP. I mean, for instance, it might have allowed me to win against the 1.9 million Salieri that we had for Lost Belt 1 for that super special challenge quest thing. I think if I had this 30% battery, I would have fired a couple of extra NPs, and I probably would have won that fight. So this will actually be pretty nice. Passion Lip, I think, is getting quite a nice one as well. Not only is she getting a 20% battery, but they are giving her a 20% buster buff. So she's not going to be doing insane amounts of damage, but it is nice that her damage is not quite as bad. You know, if she is higher NP copied on your account, you know, you might actually be able to do some decent damage if she's hitting that NP3 and higher range. So that could be kind of nice. Unfortunately, I just don't like this about the Buster meta, man. You give them a 20% battery over here, and then like no additional way to get extra NP, and then you just lock them out of being a part of the Buster meta, you know, being able to farm, which again shouldn't really matter. Use the servants you want for CQs, AQs, you know, whatever challenge quests you want to use them for, right? But it is just annoying. I think we can all agree that if one of your favorite servants is Passion Lip, you've got her, you know, grailed to 100, you 2k foed her, you know, you got her to NP5, and then the game just tells you, sorry, buddy, you are locked out of Buster meta farming. You know, it's just annoying. I mean, yeah, sure, you could do stuff like, unironically, Arasha wave 1, and then, you know, try to do Buster farming, because now you only need 2 different nodes, but you know, that's not always the most viable thing to do if you want to get, you know, max CE drops and stuff. It just kind of slightly annoys me, right? That this could be somebody's favorite character that they would like to use in different Buster farming comps, and they're just not allowed to do that. I think it's a little bit annoying. That's the one thing that kind of irks me a bit about Buster farming. But now Kingprotea as well is also getting a fat damage buff, which might look a little tame on the surface, and even I kind of personally forgot about this one, because I'm not ashamed to admit I don't really like the Kingprotea style of gameplay of kind of like stacking up and getting really, really big, and then just kind of like steamrolling through people. I'd rather just one-shot somebody immediately, you know? I guess it's no different than trying to do like the sustain teams, but then I get to use Morgan, and look, I'm also not ashamed to admit that I do like Morgan more than I like Kingprotea. Hot take, ZTL likes Morgan, you know? But this is very good that for all of the HP stacks that she has, she's going to be getting 10% attack for each, or not 10% attack, but 10% NP damage for those for 3 turns, which can be very nice, especially if you time it correctly once you've got a fat amount of stacks, you know, going you know, that's the wrong skill, but this one over here, if you've got a fat amount of stacks going, you can just give yourself big, juicy NP damage, which I think is really nice. It does make Kingprotea, I think, more of a interesting servant to use, because now if you're ever going to trade off by, you know, reducing the stacks to go ahead and go for the fat NP gain over here that you can get in the big fat battery, it also does make you think, well, I'm also going to be sacrificing a little bit of NP damage, so maybe, you know, you got to use the third skill first, then go for the second skill. I just think it's interesting when servants have a little bit of interplay like that. It kind of goes all the way back to, say, Lu Bu, when the game was like kind of first dropping and they gave him his third skill, that it was like, all right, you kind of want to, actually, no, this is the second skill, so he already had it at the jump, but it's like one of those servants where you want to time their buffs in the right order. I think it just is interesting when servants have a little bit of that interplay going in with them, and I think that can be very interesting for Kingprotea. Maybe I will try her out. Maybe I'll give her another shot in some of these Trom boss fights over here. As you guys can see, I am slowly going through Trom, and I am quite enjoying it. There's also going to be a big old update over here. I kind of went through it and looked at it. It doesn't look like it's too big of a change. It's just they're changing to Unity, and I'm not super familiar with a lot of the engines. I hope that's a good thing, because I know on the JP side of things, they have the two reruns going back to back for like these next 6 weeks, because they said they really wanted to work on the spaghetti code for FGO. And so I'm hoping that if FGO JP is going to be getting that stuff, maybe we could also maybe be seeing some stuff like that. You know, late June does kind of put that around the same time when the Lilim Harlot event is going to end for the JP side of things as well. So I don't know, maybe we're going to be seeing some pretty nice changes over here on the NA side of things. You know, smoother game loading, which I'll definitely love, because, you know, I can't wait till next year to be able to summon for Morgan 2. You know, again, hot take, ZTL can't wait to summon for Morgan 2. You know, if Morgan 1 was so great, what about Morgan 2? So I'm excited to summon for that. But dude, even playing that right now, my PC is pretty decent, but that will chug the emulator sometimes. And, you know, I've even tried playing it on my phone, and sometimes it crashes whenever I put it on over there. So I'm really excited for this. This is just kind of like a little extra thing that they announced. But yeah, over here on the NA side of things, it's going to be a nice, kind of slower week, but, you know, get through Trom, push through Tugunska if you haven't already, and do not forget to do these quests. This is free Saint Quartz and free tickets that you are leaving on the table if you do not do these. If you're going to tell me, ZTL, they're annoying to do, I keep running in there with no strategy. Look, all you have to do, I swear, you can just go on YouTube and you look up Moonsault, like, you know, Grailfront, and there is like dozens of videos of people that will show you how to maneuver around the AI, because the AI has set motions that they have pre-programmed depending on where you move and what you do. And like some of them are things you can clear with just like Angra mining. You know, I brute force my way through these all the time because I think it's fun to do that, but you know, not everybody's a masochist like me and just wants to run into these fights and be like, I hope I win. So, you know, just look up those. It's really easy. It just takes up like maybe 5 minutes of your time if you're following the video, maybe 10 minutes if you have to like constantly look up and down from your screen and pause the video. But it's free. It's a free grail. It's free tickets you're leaving on the table, and this is especially free Saint Quartz that you're also leaving on the table. So make sure you get this done. Do not let me catch you lacking, but I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace, late guys.